With it being Halloween, I thought it would be a nice idea to create an appropriate video. In a moment, I'm going to showcase a load of mods that will turn Minecraft into a zombie apocalypse. I tested and recorded all these mods on Minecraft 1.18.2 using Forge, as that seems to be a popular version right now, and it has lots of zombie-themed mods available. I haven't created a mod pack, but you can find the links to all these mods in the description. Firstly, I'm using Tisu's zombie pack. It brings changes to zombies, husks, drown, and zombie villagers. Now they'll have dozens of different variants and just stops everything from looking so repetitive. I definitely recommend that you install it. They have 2 skin layers which give them more detail, and some improved sound effects. One of the first mods that should be installed and fits this theme is Bunker Down. When creating a new world, you'll instantly spawn in an underground bunker, and it's at least some sort of haven from the undead above. Inside the bunker, you'll find 8 beds, so there's plenty for you and your friends. There's also a chest containing some starting items like a wood pickaxe and underroot seeds. These can be used to collect wood while underground. Bunkers are typically deep down, and behind the cobblestone blockage is a ladder taking you to the surface. Throughout your world, you might also find other bunkers, which can be taken over. Improving on the surface, we can install graveyard biomes. It's separate to the graveyard mod, so it doesn't include any of the structures or mobs. Instead, it adds 4 biomes, which are the ancient dead coral reef, eroded haunted forest, haunted lakes, and the haunted forest. They're quite atmospheric and really fit with what we're going for. One of my favorite world generation mods that truly makes Minecraft feel like a zombie apocalypse is the Lost Cities. You can configure it when creating a world, and you'll have the best results by choosing the Wasteland preset. It causes abandoned cities to spawn throughout your world, with the amount of space they take up being configurable. You're able to explore the buildings to search for loot, and some of them contain hostile mob spawners too. Installing the Lost Souls mod will cause some of these buildings to become haunted, which will cause the mobs inside to have more damage and health. These cities are intimidating at night, and you can explore either on land or travel through the subway system which connects cities. Vanilla villages are quite boring in style, so a mod that I like to install is Better Villages, and it's going to be compatible with the Lost Cities mod. With it installed, you'll find that villages are much larger, as they've been overhauled in the plains, desert, and snowy biomes. Most of the improvements come to the buildings as they've had their sizes increased massively, and just look a lot more like comfortable houses compared to what we see in vanilla Minecraft. Some new buildings are introduced as well, like windmills, but you might not find them spawning as often, as the generation of cities is going to take up larger portions of your world from now on. Villagers can be further improved on with Minecraft Comes Alive Reborn, which makes villages feel like their own management game. You can incorporate taxes, give villagers professions, and even marry them. But in general, it just adds a lot more life to these locations as you can chat, tell jokes, and build relationships. Installing this mod will give you some long-term goals like building and expanding on a village, eventually turning it into a safe place for your residents. But keep a close eye on them, as they too can become infected, and if you aren't quick enough, you might get overrun. Hostile villages will cause a lot of villages to be abandoned and overrun with different hostile mobs. By default, all villages are overrun. So in the configuration files, it's recommended to change it so that vanilla villages are allowed to spawn, and so that abandoned villages are only inhabited by zombies. Personally, I set 50% of villages to spawn abandoned, with them containing zombies and zombie horses. You can now find other humans residing in your world if you install the Human Companions mod. They live in their own houses all throughout your world in multiple biomes. When you come across them, you can have them join you by giving them food. They have multiple classes like being an archer, knight, and axe guard. When recruited, you can change their armor and weapons to something more powerful. But you can also make them sit down, have them follow you on adventures, attack hostile mobs, patrol an area, and more. So having a companion should definitely help when it comes to surviving hordes of zombies. A newer mod is No Cube Zombie Mobs. With it installed, chickens, cats, foxes, wolves, pigs, sheep, cows, goats, llamas, bears, ocelots, horses, donkeys, mules, pandas, dolphins, and turtles will all have a zombified version. They're able to spawn naturally when it's dark, or if an animal dies during the night, and they have a 50% chance of rising as its undead version. Some of these animals have their own special abilities too, like the zombie fox, which can steal food from the player's hand, or how zombie pigs have a chance of exploding when they're on fire. Zombie cows can hit players, giving them nausea and launch them into the air. But all these mobs can be cured by throwing a splash potion of weakness on them, giving them a golden apple and waiting 100 seconds. If you want to stop mobs like creepers, skeletons, and spiders spawning in your world, then you're going to want to install bad mobs. Through the mod's configuration files, you can choose which mobs are allowed to spawn and which aren't. That way, we can make sure the world truly feels like a zombie apocalypse. Horror Elements adds a gore and adult theme to the game. There's lots included, like blood splattered in different locations and lots of different bodies, whether they be of villagers, players, or some different mobs. Some items look like they've been used in a ritual, and the mod includes a few explorable structures such as haunted churches, predator trees, and destroyed laboratories. It even includes a new biome, which is the horror forest. Some scenes give the impression that humans are still fighting each other instead of working together. And lots of locations will contain some chests which can be looted. If you're planning on surviving in a zombie apocalypse with friends, then you might like the Simple Shops mod. It provides an immersive way to sell items to other players, even while you're offline. After crafting the Simple Shop block, you can choose an item that you want to sell, as well as the item you want in return. This next mod is going to add a flashlight, which can be crafted from 6 iron ingots, 1 redstone block, a yellow stained glass pane, and a redstone comparator. You also need to craft a redstone battery from 4 iron nuggets, 2 gold ingots, 2 iron ingots, and a redstone block. To charge the flashlight, place the battery in your offhand slot, then hold the flashlight and right-click to power it. It provides a more immersive way of traveling through the night. And if you're going for a setup where it's hard to see at night, this mod's a must-have. For more realism when it comes to survival, try out the First Aid mod. Instead of having hearts, you'll see your health in the top corner, displayed as a character. When taking damage, you'll now take it to individual limbs instead, which can give different debuffs. Injuring your head might give nausea, and injuring your feet or legs might give slowness. You can see your wounds by pressing the H key. Natural regeneration is disabled. Instead, you'll need to use items like plasters and bandages to heal yourself. And these can be crafted from wool and string. Let's take a look at some mods that will transform zombies, with the first being Nightmare Epic Siege. It changes the behaviors of most hostile mobs, but when it comes to zombies, you'll find that they can find and follow you from much further. They might spawn with tools, which they can use to knock down walls or dig toward you. Some even have a flint and steel and will burn your house down to reach you. Building upwards won't help either, as zombies can now build to follow you. So expect this mod to make surviving zombies a lot harder, and by default, sleeping is also disabled. Zombie awareness also makes the zombies smarter. When taking damage, you might spill blood, which leaves a scent that other zombies will find and follow. Likewise, zombies can hear lots of different sounds or see light sources in the distance, and they will come to investigate. There's one more useful feature that is off by default, and that's the option for hordes of zombies to spawn on the surface. To fight zombies, you'll want something like Mr. Crayfish's gun mod. You can craft shotguns, rifles, pistols, grenade launchers, assault rifles, and more. These require ammunition but feel nice to use, and they look great in-game. It's going to combine nicely with zombie awareness, as the sounds of your firing will attract other zombies. And the weapons can be upgraded by giving them different scopes, stocks, and grips. Some throwable weapons exist too, like grenades and flashbangs. A mod that would pair nicely with a gun mod is horse combat controls. By pressing the Y key, you can enter combat mode while on a horse, allowing you to look around and shoot at targets, making it feel a bit like Red Dead Redemption. The mod basically separates the controls for steering a horse and looking around. You might have noticed some blood effects in that last clip, which is coming from the Blood and Gore mod. Well, installing this mod will cause particles to emit from different mobs, and when hitting creatures like zombies, you'll see lots of blood. There's also a mod that will change some spawns. Having the zombie horse spawn mod installed will give a 5% chance for a zombie to spawn riding a horse, instead of just a zombie. And this number is configurable. You can defend your bases and villages with a mod like K-turrets. It includes lots of different turrets, which can fire bullets, bricks, arrows, and fire charges. They'll clear out any hostiles that get too close when loaded up with ammunition. Each turret has its options too, where you can determine which mobs to target and whether it should attack other players. The mod allows you to create drones as well, which will follow and protect you, so it's very useful overall. Villages and bases can also be protected with items from the Mine Traps mod. Firstly, there are barbed wire and barbed fences, which will damage entities, or you can set up pitfall traps, which will be triggered when they're stepped on. If you're worried about your base being raided by other players, you can try the new chest, which will explode when opened. And there are a few other items like toxic water, nail traps, and obstacles. True darkness can be installed to make the night more intimidating. Depending on the phase of the moon, the lighting in your world will be vastly different, to the point where you won't be able to see anything on some nights. It's going to make the flashlight mod more useful and immersive too. This mod doesn't work too well with shaders, but you can achieve a similar effect by changing the lighting settings in the shader options. Another mod to make nights more difficult is Enhanced Celestials. Each night, there's a small chance for a blood moon lunar event to happen. When it does, the moon will turn red, the number of monsters that spawn will be massively increased, and the player won't be able to sleep, so it adds a new challenge. There are also blue moons and harvest moons, which can increase luck and crop yield. Bringing just a few extra changes to zombies is we got runners. You'll find that zombies can sprint at times, which breaks up their repetitive patterns, and occasionally, they'll also charge and stun the player if they can get close enough. Changes are brought to zombies with world-specific events, like if they're wet, on fire, or equipped with weapons. Rotten Creatures introduces some new mobs, which are all of a zombie theme. These include the frostbitten, undead miner, swampy, and burned, with more coming in the future. They each have their own spawning conditions, and some have effects like being able to slow the player or set them on fire. And the mobs coming in the future seem to be even more unique and interesting.
I'm afraid that's the end of his silly little video. If you want him to make it out of this alive to bring you more content in the future, then I suggest you subscribe. Ha 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 ha.